golf lover, join in on fun discussions about golf from the perspective of two plugged-in Minnesota golf geeks, Brad Cole and David Branstad. This is 10,000 Swings.
Hello and welcome back to 10,000 Swings. It is Monday, August 30th, 2021, and I'm Brad Cole.
I'm David Branstad.
10,000 Swings is brought to you by Jarrett Yehlen with Northwestern Mutual. For whatever financial questions you have, call Jarrett Yehlen with Northwestern Mutual today, 612-209-4523, or check out his website at jarrettyehlen.com. I don't know what Jarrett was doing this week, but I'm sure he was somewhere on the East Coast following the tour and helping tour players with stock tips. I'm assuming that's what he was doing this week because he wasn't able to, we weren't at the New York Stock Exchange this week, but still out on the East Coast, probably trying to avoid tropical storms. Give Jarrett a call today and he'll help you out with whatever you've got going. And we've got a great show this week that might include the BMW Championship, the Tour Championship, a little preview of what we've got coming up this next week. We're hearing about midnight snacks on tour, which I can't wait. I'd probably just spend the entire podcast talking about midnight snacks on tour. And then we had a topic brought up that Brandon and I might just sit on the sideline and just listen. Golf course ownership was brought up by Jarrett as something he'd like to dive into, and Brandon and I might just have to bite our tongues. So we'll see where this goes. But our guest this week, similar to last week with Jeff Munichie, needs no introduction, but he's not quite to the point where you can just say it's Jarrett. If you say it's Jarrett, people might think like it's Jared or Jared the Subway guy, or who knows where that could go. So he needs two names, Jarrett Yehlen. Jarrett, can't thank you enough for coming back on the show and your sponsorship. What's happening in your world?
Gentlemen, what's going on? You know what? This has been hot on my mind as I've been watching the entire tournament all weekend. How beautiful is it to see a course that is like lush and green and different colors of green, like nothing's burnt out. Everything in Maryland looked absolutely beautiful. Like Caves Valley looked awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my experience with Maryland is all they do is crab cakes and football. So it was interesting for me to see this route because all I know is that, crab cakes and football, that's what Maryland does. And so I was impressed with the course. I thought it looked beautiful. It was obviously a bit soft. There wasn't a ton of wind. Did you guys think it was too easy?
I don't know if it was too easy, but I think being soft most certainly has something to do with it, right? I mean, you're not getting everything rolling out. But again, if it's a little bit more firm, then everything is running out a little bit further, and maybe the scores are going lower. I don't know. We had this text string going earlier over the weekend, Birdie Fest, or do you want to see guys grind it out? Me personally, like once it starts getting to 20 under, 25 under, like in that territory, I'm kind of a little bored with it, right? Because you still get guys that can go out and shoot 67, 68, 68, and 66 and not have a sniff at the winner's circle, So like that bothers me a little bit. But the golf course looked beautiful. Brady, what do you think?
I thought it looked beautiful. It obviously looked like it had plenty of water and it played soft and it was optimal scoring conditions. But I'm kind of with you. If I just go back to the 3M Open from this year, like I enjoy watching golfers making 8s, 9s, 12s, if you want to go that far, on finishing holes. I don't necessarily love 25 under par. I think that's my attraction to the U.S. Open so much, is I kind of like the grind fest. I like to know that there's a double or triple just waiting there for someone, and it's not just eagles waiting there. For someone. I like the balance, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I think there's a lot of things about the BMW Championship that I really enjoy. Like its association with the Western Golf Association. Nearly all the courses that it's been played at have hosted a U.S. Amateur or Mid-Am or something like that, right? So there's really, really strong history at all of these courses that they're going to. But there's part of me that I want to see, I don't want to see a guy blow up, but at the same point, it does make them a little bit more relatable. It makes them a little bit more human. Once you get to 27 under, I'm like, okay, is this the Barracuda? Is this the Barbasol? Like, what's going on here?
Well, and how many players are actually capable of shooting 65 4 days in a row?
Yeah, that's my point.
There's not that many, and I think there's more that are capable of grinding out a 68, a 69, 70 for 4 days in a row on a really tough golf course. So it brings more people into the field, more people into play, and I think for golf that's better. I know I'd have to see ratings. I don't know what TV ratings say. I know everyone likes to see birdies and eagles, but I don't know.
Well,
I think it's better for golf.
At least the finish. I mean, at least it gave us everything that we wanted, right? I mean, you could look at the scores over the weekend and be like, okay, this wasn't really enjoyable. Lowest man, who's shooting 64, 64, 65, 66 wins. But in the end, like, what an insanely awesome playoff. I mean, everything about it was awesome. The shots that they just traded back and forth, it was high drama. And I think Caves Valley, at least, from the TV watchers, you know what? You leave with a great taste in your mouth because you watched an excellent, excellent playoff. By the way, the last playoff there, the 2000, let's see here. I had it here. The 2002 U.S. Senior Open was a 5-hole playoff between Don Pooley and Tom Watson. So not the first time Caves Valley has seen high drama go into the late innings.
So where do you guys want to start with this one? I mean, we have so many roads to go down here.
Well, I think Jarrett already led us to where we want to go. He said that everyone got the finish they wanted, which means obviously that he's just saying, everyone wanted to see Bryson lose. So that's, I think it's a good starting point. That one's near and dear to my heart. How about this? In my opinion, the best golf tournaments, the winning score is 15 under. And the reason why I say that is that there's an opportunity to shoot 66, 64, 63. Realistically, though, a good day is 67, 68. You've got opportunities to make doubles and opportunities to make eagles, but it doesn't get too out of hand, right? And if you look at the event this week, minus 15 was T17. Like, Brooks Koepka was never, I don't even know if they showed him on TV. He was 14 under par. He shot 70, 67, 69, 68, and he was Mr. Irrelevant at T22 at 14 under. Same with Justin Thomas. So, again, we have this debate. Like, was it too easy? Obviously, it wasn't too easy for everyone, but, it's very interesting to see as you look at the field this week and guys that have kind of started to go away that were really hot earlier in the year. I mean, look at Louis Oosthuizen finished 38th. Colin Morikawa has been really struggling lately. Xander's starting to slide a little bit. Guys that you would have said at the beginning of, a month ago, hey, this guy's going to be right there at Tour Championship. Even Paul Casey, these guys are starting to slide a little bit. And all of a sudden now you're seeing a resurgence of some familiar names as we go into Eastlake. So I don't know if you guys saw T6 last week, Dustin Johnson, and fourth place solo, Rory McIlroy, a couple of guys that have gotten it going at Eastlake before. I mean, are we foreshadowing that it's going to be a DJ Rory finale, or what are you guys seeing from this week as you transition to next week?
This has always been kind of my issue with golf, and issue is probably the wrong word to even say. It's a little fight mentally for me. It's like, are these guys good enough? Are DJ and Rory, are they good enough to know when to peak? I mean, Tiger, we all knew, he knew how to do it. He knew how to peak. Phil kind of learned to do it later in his career, but are they that caliber golfer? Or are we still just in the who's ever hottest that week wins?
I mean, Rory just said earlier in the week, he's like, I'm burnt out. I'm tired, right? So he goes to Maryland a little bit early, like gets a little bit of rest. I mean, is an extra 2 days in the hotel in Maryland exactly what the doctor ordered for this? I don't know. Or was he just feeling it, right? I mean, was the course soft enough that he hit it right where he wanted every single time? But to your point, David, he goes 22 under. And he's fourth place, right? Like, how do you feel if you're Eric Van Rooyen and you go 67, 68, 67, 65? Like, what are we talking about here? And you can't even get into the top three.
If you're Eric Van Rooyen, you're feeling pretty excited that you're still playing because a month ago you thought your season was over, and all of a sudden you're on a heater, and you just took the house for 7 hands in a row, and you're doubling down and adding more bets every time, and you are on a heater. You don't leave the table when you're on a heater, and Eric Van Rooyen is on a heater. I can't wait to see him this week. So he has, what was he, outside the 125 going into the Barracuda, right?
Yeah,
he was his rank last week was outside of 125, but his rank last week was 45. So he goes from 45 to 27. The only other person that made that sort of jump, Sergio Garcia. Look out who's coming in hot, getting ready for the Ryder Cup, right? Sergio Garcia rolls out on the weekend and goes 65, 67, 67, 69.
I don't have this in front of me. What did Eric cash this week? Probably like 350.
Fifth place, I would assume, 3 to 350 right in there.
So yeah,
That's a big
still
deal.
Pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, him and Feely are really got it going right now. And imagine if he didn't have that quad on the final round at Liberty National, right? He had that 7 on the par 3 in the final day. So Van Rooyen has got it going. It's really good for Minnesota. I mean, just for the young Gophers watching this guy right now, it has to be so cool because he honestly was at the beginning of the pandemic. I think at one point he got to 50th in the world. And then he had some injuries and he's struggling. And now, he fell out of pretty much everything. And now he is just rolling. And he was really, kind of hit rock bottom, I think, at the PGA this year. And it's just so fun to see him get it going. Again, like DJ has got it going right now. I mean, do you even rule out Sam Burns any week right now? I mean, this guy's as hot as they come, right?
I don't know if you can. Kokrak was T15 as well. Finel's T15. You've got a lot of good Americans that are up there right now making a push. So I'm pretty excited to see what the Ryder Cup standings end up here. If you're Stricker, what type of position are you in right now outside of your top 6? Morikawa, DJ, DeChambeau, Koepka, JT, and Cantlay. And then you go Finau, Schauffele, Spieth, Harris English, Patrick Reed, and Daniel Berger rounding out the top 12.
Man.
Well, Finau he's got to be a lock, right? I mean,
I would think so, right?
He's playing as good as anybody is right now. Schauffele, yeah, okay, won the gold medal. Got to hand him something for that.
Jordan Spieth.
Harris English is no slouch right now. We don't know if Patrick Reed is going to be hospitalized or if he's going to pull an Undertaker and rise from the dead. Who knows what's going on with Patrick Reed. I mean, it sounds like he's going to try to play this week at Eastlake, but you've got Daniel Berger at 12, Webb Simpson at 13, Scotty Scheff at 14. Sam Burns on the outside looking in, but Burns is just. How do you say no to Burns? How do you say no to Kisner?
Right. Although Kisner is the only one that is outside the top 30. Like all those other guys that you mentioned are inside the top 30, right? So they get another weekend to state their case. But like I said, Kisner's match play record speaks for himself. Like he's a guy I want on my team because he's not upsetting any sort of locker room. And who knows, honestly, who knows what type of mental state DeChambeau was coming into the Ryder Cup with. Watching this guy bicker at Cantlay for walking in the back of his shot or look just so frustrated and dejected. Like he looks like the pressure is really, really getting to him right now. And it's tough to watch. Whatever way you swing on this thing, it's really, really hard to watch right now.
Well, Brad and I talked a little bit off air via text about this. I don't know how far we want to dive into it, but think of the locker room situation at the Ryder Cup right now. Does anybody really get along with each other? You've got villain after villain in there, and let's just assume Patrick Reed does get in there, and now what?
Well, what's interesting is that this should be the year that we absolutely run away with it. If you look at the top 12, top 14, top 16 guys over on the European team, are we really taking Danny Willett to get you some points on a Sunday during the Ryder Cup right now? What about Thomas Dietrich? What are we doing here? The Americans have such a strong roster, but if they can't get the right guys in the locker room, it's not going to happen for them.
We do have some more Ryder Cup talk coming up later in the show, but we have to hammer out this 6-hole playoff in the anger from Bryson DeChambeau, the chirping at the competitor for walking ahead of him, which I can say I'm definitely guilty of doing. So we're just going to call that one out right there. And, I've done it to my dad. I don't know how many times. I'll be about to pull it back. I'm in between Waggle 13 and 14. And all of a sudden he just starts, pushing his cart right behind me because he's got to go over to the pond and, find a few balls in the pond with his ball retriever. And I'm like, man, can you stop walking? I might swing soon, depending on how many more Waggles I need. So it's, Bryson chirping. I get it. I understand. He didn't want any movement, and I thought Cantlay.
Brad. Also, why I don't like ball retrievers.
There you go. They take over. It's such a focal point of the round. You're no longer thinking about golf. It's just how many balls can I find, to go wash up later.
Can I pay for my greens fees based on the balls that I found today in the water?
Absolutely.
Did you hear what Azinger said on the fourth playoff hole, where they went back to the tee? It's 18, right? This is right before he put it in the water. Azinger says, the harder he hits it, the straighter it goes. And wham, it's in the water on the right.
Can we take a quick derail on Zinger as a broadcaster? Because I don't know,
Dan Hicks really carries him.
Yeah, well, Hicks is good, but I'm very mixed on Zinger and how I feel about his critiques. I mean, it's almost like they hired him to be the new Johnny Miller, right?
Yeah, it feels that way, right? I mean, simple things like that. The harder he hits it, the straighter it goes. I literally looked across at the room at Jenny. I'm with this really confused face. Really? Did that? He just said that, and then pushes it right, way right.
But you can make the case that he does do pretty well when he just goes on it, rather than trying to hold it back. But the reality is that he has no control ever. He just doesn't have control of what's going on. He's just, his body, in my opinion, his body is going to break down before he's 35.
Here's my issue with Zinger, though. If I'm just comparing the two, Johnny Miller was the king of, he double-crossed it. And that was every single miss that ever happened in the game of golf was he double-crossed it, right? Zinger's been right on a handful of stuff he's said, but then he all of a sudden just throws out something that's where in the world did you come up with that? He flushed it out of that. I'm he came up 45 yards short. He chunked it out of the rough. So how can you tell me that sounded great and he flushed it?
There's some good on-course talent right now too. I mean, Dottie is excellent. I'll listen to her any day of the week. Faraday, of course, but Colt Knost is excellent. He's really, really excellent on the course. And Bones made a point on the 6th playoff hole where Cantlay was putting from was his similar putt on the 72nd hole. And he even said it. He goes, "This is the exact same putt. Cantlay knows exactly what this putt is going to do." And he drained it. So having that sort of insight, right on instead of just something with conjecture.
It almost reminds me of Tony Romo on football, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's you're getting that good intel. So, Brandy and Jarrett, if you were to put together a roster right now of the best broadcast crew, so you get two in studio and you get 2 out in the field, who are your 4 of current broadcasters? Who are your 4 people that you're these are the 2 I want in the booth, and these are the 2 I want out in the field? And I'll tell you right now, I'm taking Dottie and Faraday out in the field.
That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer out in the field.
And I'm actually going to go a different direction with Bones. I'm going to move him up into the studio and have Bones and Nance go back and forth.
Oh, I like that. I appreciate that. I would put
and Nance inside.
No, Bones.
No, I would go in the booth. I would go Van Pelt and Dan Hicks together in the booth. And then I'd probably go Faraday, and I really am enjoying Colt Knost right now. That's a sort of a pop culture thing right now. He's new at it. It's fresh. It's a fun perspective. I'm probably going those 4.
I love the SVP in there. That's phenomenal. You know who actually grows on me every single year is Faldo. I don't mind him inside. Now I need him for about 1 tournament a year, and that's about it.
Has he talked you into a pair of square shoes yet? Because that's what I lost when I lost Faldo. I liked Faldo up until the square shoes. That I every time I hear it, oh man, it's something. There was No Laying Up was doing some tweeting this weekend. It was them and Josh Brown. A couple of people were going back and forth, and they were joking about what commercial do you want to hear right now? And there's the classic golf ones that are on all the time. And there's so many different ones, and there's just a lot of different things. And this is a good time to remind our listeners that 10,000 Swings is brought to you by PXG. And if you want to learn more about PXG, turn on a golf telecast, and Bob Parsons will let you know all about his company and his products. He's got all sorts of... I don't know any other founders and CEOs of companies that do their own commercials. I got to give him credit there. Like, he does his own commercials. It's pretty impressive that he throws himself right out there. You know, like, you don't see Mr. Kraft getting on the TV talking about macaroni and cheese. But if you go to the PXG store in Southdale and go check it out today, PXG has some incredible new technology in their Gen 4 clubs. They still have some Gen 3, Gen 2, and Gen 1 products around. So check it out today. PXG in Southdale, a very unique fitting experience like no other. And they're able, unlike a lot of companies right now, they're able to ship clubs right away. So good time to talk about them and PXG. And again, like, they are all over golf telecasts. They're definitely not afraid to spend money right now. So Jarrett, what's your golf commercial right now that you always, like, you either are always looking forward to or you giggle about, or like, what's one that you think of right away whenever you think of golf? Like, oh man, I can't wait to hear more about square shoes.
You know, the Medicus is always a favorite of mine. I'm up late night watching a lot of golf TV every now and then. So the Medicus, like the it's the wedge putter. Those are my favorite. I forget which one it is. There's one Hippo and Boomba Golf right now. I mean, you know, my boys see it and they're like, oh, we need that driver. That one's for sure going to make it go further. Well, not really. Those are my favorite. I'm a little tired of like the trick shot second swing commercials. I can't take those any longer. I get it. I know what you guys do, and you don't need to show me trick shots anymore. It's the same trick shot over and over and over again, walking through the checkout, picking up the clubs, bouncing a ball all over the place. Like, the apple on top of the dude's, head too, and he's like hitting it with a driver or a wedge. Like, I can't take it. My apologies to your marketing team.
Would you be happier if I had Aaron come over to your house and we hit the shot again? Like, you get to do it yourself, and then he can do the apple. Would that make it more enjoyable?
Probably. But my boys want to see it. My boys want to see it. They're like, Jenny and I want the DVR, so we want to go through the commercials. My children are a marketer's dream. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be second swing. It can be the hood ornament. You know, I've got the brains. You've got the brawn. God. Let's make thought. They have to watch it every single time.
Yeah, I don't even know what the product is, but I want to make lots of money. Every time it's in my head, I say it the entire rest of the day. And my wife just rolls her eyes. She's like, they've got you hooked. I go, I don't even know what I bought, but I bought something. I want to make lots of money. I don't know what this commercial's about. To me, that, you know, any of the Progressive commercials are so good. Progressive and Geico are great, but the Progressive ones where they joke about becoming your parents, as all three of us are kind of in an age right now where we are becoming our parents. And,
No. Brad, let's stop that right now. Because I do not get out on the first hole and bring out the Metakiss like my father does to warm up. We are not quite there.
You know, I roll into a parking lot. I've got a ripstick. I've got a Momentous Golf swing trainer from Jim Sorensen. You know, I've got all of the tools. I'm doing the Miguel Angel Jimenez stretches. I mean, I'm literally, again, a marketer's dream.
You have the chipper in your bag too now because you can't chip anymore?
Absolutely. Anything to help solve the problems, Brandy. There's a solution. There's a product that can be bought for everything. So, yeah, that's man. Well, we really got sidetracked there, but back to the PGA Tour and the BMW Championship. 6-hole playoff. I mean, has this year been the most nutty of any year of playoffs and crazy things happening? Like, between the Olympics and all these different playoffs we've seen this year, these have been nuts. So we've got Patrick Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau. They go 6 holes, and afterwards, Patrick Cantlay wins, and Bryson won't even interview. Like, where are we at? Jarrett, what do you think is the actual state of Bryson's mind right now? And I've asked both of you this, but is this a chicken or the egg thing? Like, do people dislike Bryson because of the way he's acting, or is he acting this way because he thinks people dislike him? Like, what is going on with Bryson?
I don't know whether I've gone back and forth on this too, right? Like there was part of me that, felt like he really was just annoying the hell out of Brooks. And then there's part of me that felt like Brooks was picking on him. Then there's the other part of me that realizes and understands that Bryson just kind of wants to be liked, but he's going about doing it the complete wrong way. And then there's another part of me that thinks, okay, yeah, he's getting heckled on the course. Like we need to dial that back. That doesn't have any sort of place in golf, and all three of us know that. I think he doesn't have the right people in his corner. I really don't. Like, go out, spend your money, hire a good PR person, fire your buddy or whoever the heck it is. Go get yourself a good PR firm, because what you're doing right now, whatever it is, isn't working. Like, the brand that you've created for yourself is not working.
Jarrett, that's a really good point. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I don't think there's any room in the game of golf for what these fans have been doing to him on the golf course. It's not right, regardless of what we think about him, and regardless of what we think about what Bryson did coming off of the last playoff hole to a fan, what that fan said. But who is his corner right now? Like, who's his inner circle? I have no idea.
No clue.
But obviously it's not working. It's not who it needs to be.
I think he needs to hire whoever Phil Mickelson hired 2 years ago. Because whatever Phil Mickelson's done in the last 2 years has totally, like, Phil was very controversial before. It was very 50-50 on you if you loved or hated Phil. And I think now he's the most lovable he's ever been his entire career. And I think it's through the channel or the lens of social media, he's really brought in a different type of enjoyability to his game. And Bryson just refuses to, like, open up a little or show another side. Like, that's the thing with Brooks. Like, Brooks comes off like a not so great guy sometimes, but then you see these really other sides of him where he's wearing women's swimsuits or very small men's swimsuits and pictures, and he's having the time of his life. He's just goofing around. He's got Michelob Ultra, vacations. He's got all these different things. He's doing a lot of fun stuff. He's having fun. I don't think Bryson's having fun. And so, like, how do you make golf fun? Like, is this for him just like one of these deals? All of a sudden he's just going to retire at a really young age and just be like, I can't do this. Like, is his body going to hold up? Like, I don't know.
Brad, think about it this way. Number one, I agree with you. His body's not going to hold up. It can't hold up to what he's doing. The PGA Tour just threw out $40 million to be likable. And what did Bryson do? He became more unlikable.
But is he trying to get clicks? Like, is he trying to is he trying to play the villain? Is he trying to do like, hey, Patrick Reed's in the hospital right now, so I got to step it up a notch so I can move to number one of the villain rankings, because the most recent power rankings for villains on tour had me at 5, and I got to go. Like, I got to move my way up.
Yeah, well, most guys on tour, like, if they are going to separate from their caddy, they typically don't fire them the night before a tournament starts, right? Let's remember that. Like, he let go of Tim Tucker right before the Rocket Mortgage and replaced him with Brian Ziegler. So, and both of those guys, I listened to Tim's interview afterwards on a different podcast, and the level of knowledge and intricacies that you have to know on the yardage book and everything else to speak Bryson's language seems impossible, right? For anybody to step in and do that. Now, Brian can do it because he's part of his inner circle. But my point is like, how come you don't have somebody even from the outside that maybe you're paying so you feel, some sort of pull to listen to them that says, maybe don't do it on a Wednesday night. Maybe think about doing it on Sunday evening after a tournament, regardless of what's going on, because this just is not a good look.
No,
those
totally
yardage
agree.
books that you speak of too, they are impossible to read. So if you don't have like-minded Bryson and like-minded caddy, oh my gosh, that's not just an easy switch to flip overnight right before a tournament.
Well, Tim Tucker would actually he would go out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on the practice round for Bryson while Bryson's doing whatever he's doing. He would go out to all the greens and he would separate them in quadrants, and then he would drop a ball from a certain height and he would get like a density rating for the green in that particular point, right? So not only are you looking at wind, not only are you looking at yardage, not only are you looking at how soft things are, but you're looking at like the green density and air moisture and all this other sort of stuff. So I see why people are picking on him because he's different. It doesn't mean that it's right, but it means that you need to get some strategy in your corner about what brand you need to be portraying out there, because you are your brand, regardless of what you think. You are in the public's eye. You have millions and millions of Twitter followers, and a lot is riding on the line for your career. So take it seriously and hire the right PR firm.
You mean not the one that's going to say you won the tournament this week and then they made a mistake and
Right.
it's actually Sam Burns, but
Right.
they represent both of you, and you may
Right,
want
what
to
a
log
gong
into
show.
the correct maybe just get in the right account. I mean, come on, man. Like it's kind of insane. But one
Isn't
of the
it,
things
at some point, isn't it just a username and password?
correct. That is correct, Brandy.
I mean, he's entering into the air of like some famous people that are like just can't get their S together, like Ricky Williams, right? Like think of all the
Right.
things that happened to him, right? Think of like Steve Avery or John Rocker or excuse me, Sean Avery, not Steve Avery. Goodness gracious.
Well, Steve Avery was a great pitcher for the Braves back in the '90s. So I mean, are you trying to get us already moved over to Wisconsin for the Ryder Cup, and you're already thinking about that drive through
Yeah, let's
Manitowoc
move
County?
on. Let's
Yeah.
keep on moving. Keep the train
So
moving.
one of the things we want to talk about on our show is positive stuff and fun, light things. And instead of talking about all the negativity and the weird stuff happening, I would love to have a conversation about what Tony Finau did at Liberty National last week. This is one of the best stories of all time. So Tony goes out, he gets his first win in years, and many would say his first actual win because of the quality of field in the past, blah, blah, blah. He goes out, is doing media stuff till late, blah, blah, blah. He goes to Ruth's Chris Monday night in New York City at 11 p.m., sits down, orders a petite filet, and can't finish half of it. Can't finish half. So now we fast forward to 3 a.m. and Tony goes to McDonald's, only place open, and he gets a Big Mac, a double quarter pounder with cheese, a large fry, a 10-piece McNugget with sweet and sour sauce, and an Oreo McFlurry. And I just want to start, before we even talk about anything else, I want to start with, yes, that is exactly if I had his kind of money, that is my McDonald's order. That's a couple steps ahead of me. I probably have to go more McDoubles, McChickens, because it's just more in my deal. But if I had unlimited dollars, the Big Mac and the quarter pounder with cheese is such a legend play. Like that is, can we just appreciate how great this guy is? Like, how do you not love him? And they interviewed him on TV. And they go, Tony, can you confirm the order that surfaced on social media this week? And he walked it through like item by item. And all I can say about Tony Finau is that this guy has an incredible taste for food. When I first met him, we were at Top Golf in Portland, and he was hanging out by the donut holes, or the donuts that they have at Top Golf. And you can inject them with the different flavors. And he was teaching me about how to inject donuts with the flavors, because he's like, yeah, I go to Top Golf all the time, and back in Utah. And I'm like, is this real? Like, this guy is like the coolest dude ever, right? Like, how do you not love Tony Finau? How do you like? So my question to both of you is, if you're going to McDonald's in New York City at 3 a.m., what's your order?
Man, I'm a strong strawberry milkshake with French fries. Like two things of French fries, actually, because I'm going to dip some of them in the strawberry milkshake.
I like it.
So first of all, I think, Brad, I could probably just sign off at this point, and you could take the show over from here on late night food orders. But if we're going McDonald's, my order is the same every single time. It's a McChicken and a plain double cheeseburger. Now, ironically, so my wife doesn't hear this, I was there today, and I did mix in a chocolate shake.
Brad, you're on the spot. I give you 2 donuts to inject with something. What are you injecting into glazed donuts right now?
Well, if it's a glazed donut, I'm gonna try to make it some sort of a custard, more than likely. You know, I try to essentially make a Long John. Long John is my go-to donut of all time. I need a chocolate on top. I need a custard injection, but I'm not against raspberry or strawberry or any of the berries are all good. Just something about, I don't know. That's and that's the thing. If you go to Top Golf and you get those, I mean, those little donut balls, they're so good themselves. But you put a chocolate or a custard in there, or raspberry, and you're in a good spot. So my next question then is, if you are out at 3 a.m. and you don't go to McDonald's, what would be the place that you would go to that in certain cities or certain areas would be open at 3 a.m. and what would your order be there?
Taco Bell number 7, hands down.
I knew it.
Yeah, I'm a Taco John 6-pack and a pound guy.
Yes, I knew that as well. That's that's it's nice that we know each other's tendencies well. I mean, it's amazing to me how real this guy is, right? Because like, what would Bryson do at 3 a.m. after winning in New York City? You know,
Steroids.
Instagram post of doing push-ups in Times Square with a trophy on his back.
You know, I'm speechless.
Right?
Like that's probably what he would do. I was thinking maybe he'd go to the grocery store and have his chef fry up a bunch of bacon, right? And just like be eating chunks of bacon all night long. It's so cool to me to see this side of Tony. And my question to both of you now, who do you think would have the most ridiculous order at McDonald's at 3 a.m. on tour? Who is gonna and I say any player on tour. So you could say Kevin Stadler. That's an option, or Craig Stadler, technically affiliated with tour. But like, what guy on tour? And you can pick any tour or gal on any of the tours. Who do you think is gonna have like the most ridiculous late night McDonald's order? And you can say current or past. Like I'm thinking, John Daly, Anthony Kim. Like, could you just see Anthony Kim just getting after it one night in Dallas and then getting like a 2 20-piece McNuggets and sweet and sour sauce and just going to town on a ton of McNuggets or maybe like an extra large fry after, late night clubbing?
Yeah, after he took his $14 million for his wrist hurting.
Yeah, I think it's the smaller guys, though. I think it's the smaller guys that really like roll into McDonald's, and like they're the guys that you walk into Pizza Ranch at 6 o'clock on a Thursday, and the guys are ganged around a table, and you're like, "What's happening?" You're like, "I don't know. Brad's on his 23rd piece," right? I think it would be somebody like Justin Thomas or Bud Colley, somebody like that, right? Like a super tiny guy that can just absolutely house the French fries into one of their legs. I think it's one of those guys.
So, all right, so Michael Thompson wins the 3M Open in 2020. Where does he go for dinner on Sunday?
Oh, is this a trick question? Does he go to McDonald's?
Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's.
I thought it was Chipotle.
Oh, was it Chipotle? Nice.
It's Chipotle. Him and his caddy.
Nice.
That's their tradition. They go to Chipotle every single Sunday after an event. And he's like, why mess this up now?
I kind of appreciate that. I like that.
That's a good tradition.
I like tradition. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. This could just go so many different directions. It's fascinating to me, when you start getting these guys mic'd up and hearing what kind of food they like. Because I think it was at Paynes Valley a year ago, Rory was playing with Justin Thomas and he was mic'd up. He was talking how much he loved Domino's when he's on the road. And I thought JT was going to fall over laughing. Like Domino's really is like, yeah, you get like the extra sausage and he asks for all the extra toppings. He's like, it's always consistent in every market. He's like, if there's not a local pizza place,
didn't they get stuck in Japan at a Domino's during the hurricane?
I believe there was something similar. Yes, there were some guys that got stuck in a. Wasn't Tiger there?
I thought Tiger was there too.
The Zozo or something.
Yeah.
It was. I'm not sure all of the accuracies of that story, but there was definitely something to people getting stuck at like a Pizza Hut or a Domino's or something in Asia, and
Was that the Zozo this past year?
No, it was like a year and a half ago.
2 years ago, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right before the pandemic hit, I want to say. So yeah, it's just fascinating to hear. These guys are like they're all in incredible shape. They all take really good care of their bodies. and then to hear him taking down, like what do you think Tony's order was? Like 7,000 calories at 3 a.m. Like,
all right, here's one. I got a question for you. You're a professional athlete. You have a successful NBA career, even though you can't read a shot clock. You go back to college, you play college golf, you win your first tournament on Sunday. Where do you go eat then?
wait, did J.R. Smith win?
J.R. Smith did not win, but he does have a tweet that's out there on August 22nd that says, "Dear Bojangles, I don't know who came up with these Bowberry biscuits, but may whatever God pray bless upon your soul. Man, oh man."
By the way, if you want something to follow right now on Twitter, J.R. Smith is fantastic.
It's excellent. It's so excellent. I'm so glad that we're along for the ride.
It's essentially Billy Madison meets, it's like back to school, right? I mean, it's impressive. He's been a really fun follow, and him going back and playing college golf now, what an incredible story, after his whole NBA career and everything he did as a player in the league. So that's been pretty cool. So as we kind of wrap up from that, if you are looking for something to wash down that late night McDonald's, want to let you know that 10,000 Swings is brought to you by Corona Premier. So nice 90-calorie beer, 2.6 carbs. And again, you don't need to have a lime with it. You can just drink it straight up, and it's very light and refreshing. So if you're looking for something to wash down that late night Mickey D's run, or whatever your food of choice is after a big championship on tour, feel free to swing in and get a 6-pack of Corona Premier and try it out today.
By the way, it's Taco Bell number 7 with a soft shell. It has to have the soft shell with it.
Soft shell, that's a good play. That's I like where your head's at, Branny.
I need the crunch though. Like I need the hard tacos, and I always want hot sauce because the little nacho cheese that comes with the potato olays. I like to put hot sauce in it and make it like spicy cheese. Super good.
I still think that the double decker is one of the best inventions of all time. When you take the hard shell, add the refried beans in between the two layers, and then the soft shell on the outside. And for our listeners that are at home, yes, you should be saying, I can actually hear you getting fatter. Those are the correct. And for those that are watching this on YouTube right now, yes, my number of chins is increasing as the show goes on. So don't you worry about me. I don't miss any meals. So that's some good banter there. So as we transition out of the PGA Tour talk, one of the things that Jarrett wanted to talk about was golf course ownership. And it's a fascinating conversation because when you think about it, you play at a place and you get a certain vibe when you go to certain places, right? You get a different feel, you get a different look, and a decent amount of that is the architect, but it's also a lot of it's the ownership or the group that's overseeing, what's going on at that place. And I think it's always interesting when you see different changes happen to different places to see why they did it. David and I have been involved in a million of these talks, but one of the most heated conversations in golf course membership talk is tree removal. And ultimately it's cost a lot of friendships. And I know this sounds crazy, but at a lot of clubs, it's been a huge thing about, how can you take that tree down? And the reality is that trees are really cool on golf courses, but they cause a lot of problems.
But when they suck water from your putting green, it's not a good thing and not a good placement to be there.
And when your greens can't get sunlight, they need to go. The crazy part is now, let's say you've marked 10 or 20 trees that need to go because they're causing problems. Now ownership has to say, hey, we're going to pay that 100 or 200,000 or whatever it is for removal, right? And it's not just chopping down the trees. It's the removal of the trees. It's the stump grinding. It's getting the roots out. It's a whole process. So, ownership is so key. And I guess what direction were you wanting to go with this, Jarrett, or what were you wanting to dive into? Because Brandy and I are very well versed in this, and we could go a lot of different directions.
Well, I think I have more questions than answers, right? And I think that's okay because I don't think anybody, at least that I know, has owned a golf course before. The reason that it came up was last Friday, I played with my neighbor. My neighbor's retired. He plays maybe 4 or 5 times a week on the players card at Inverwood, but he's got a group that goes to Inverwood or Southern Hills in Farmington or Fountain Valley in Farmington. And so, I was free last Friday. I asked him earlier in the week if he was going out, and I'd love to join. And so we go to Fountain Valley, and we roll in. It is Spartan. Okay, like there's nothing fancy about it. You walk up, but Bryce and Carol Olson have owned it for the past 30 years. They live on the course. Like the clubhouse is their house. And so like, I just wondered, like throughout the round, it's old farm country too. Like you look outside the course and you see nothing but farmland. So it's obviously a plot of land that had trees planted on it all over the place. And apparently the gripe was, well, there are too many trees. Like they're too low. You can't punch out, which is like my game, right? Like typically I'm like a net par on a 5 typically, because the punch out doesn't count sometimes. So like they clipped all the bottom of the trees, they cleaned them up. But my thought was, as I went through the round, at some point they're going to sell this, right? I mean, they're older, they're in their 70s. At some point they're going to sell this. Who do they sell it to? How much do they sell it for? Or does it just get raised to a developer? And next thing you know, you got houses that are 10 feet apart from each other.
Well, that's a great conversation, because probably about 12 years ago is when things kind of hit a wall, right? 2008, 2009, when all of the housing market, it crashed. There's just a lot of different things that are happening. And wouldn't you say, Brandy, we've probably been losing in the state one to 3 courses a year for probably over the last 10 to 12 years, and they've been mainly smaller ones that have all become housing developments. I think it's kind of the average number, because housing has taken off so much. Now, obviously that changed for a bit there when housing was down, but it seems like there's been a pretty steady over the last 10 years where there's 1 to 3 a year that go away and become homes or something else. But usually it's almost always, if a golf course isn't going to stay a golf course, it becomes homes, right, Brandy? Can you think of any scenarios where they haven't become homes? Like, are there any golf course in this market that went under and didn't become homes?
I can't think of one golf course that did not become homes.
So I have an example where that's actually not true. In Andover, Woodland Creek Golf Course that my parents and sister happen to live on they stopped paying, I believe that they stopped paying taxes or something like that happened, and they let it overgrow, and it became a community walking path.
Okay, if we're going to go down that road, technically, what's Hillcrest Golf and Country Club right now?
What is Hillcrest? Right in the heart of St. Paul. What is it, Brandy?
Right in the heart of St. Paul. I think that's still just a big, tall piece of grass.
Wow.
What about the rumors? They found so much mercury from all the chemicals that were dumped into the ground that they couldn't find a residential buyer to take it over, even though the property was ripe for it.
What about Mississippi Dunes down there in Cottage Grove? The one that the clubhouse just caught on fire maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, but there's no houses on it yet, right? Like, I mean, it's a total loss. It hasn't been operated in several years, but I think, is that an opportunity for either like a park system to come in and buy it, or is it a private investor group to come in and buy it, or like what would that look like? Let's say that we need to go and crowdfund and start raising some dollars for this, and the 3 of us wanted to go buy Fountain Valley or Mississippi Dunes. What do we need year 1 in operating to pay the people that you got to pay, staff it the way that you want to staff? Like, what does that look like? Just out of curiosity.
You're talking to the wrong guys.
I'm thinking my financial advisor is going to tell me not to do that.
Yeah, fair. It doesn't seem like an awesome investment. I guess I'm just wondering, like, is that something that, I mean, are you going to ride in like a white knight and save a golf course? Like, some like a really nice club on the west side? Like, I mean, that doesn't happen all the time. So I guess I'm just curious what something like that would ultimately look like. But anyhow.
Brad, wouldn't you say $3 million would probably be a target?
Yeah, at a place like that, because they're going to sell it to a developer for at least 2.5, if not more. You know what I mean? Like probably closer to $5 million to a developer, depending on the total acreage. So you're going to need somewhere in that ballpark. And again, there's been places that have sold for a lot less, but I know like this last year, the course in Staples, is it right off the river there? I believe that sold to a group of people, and they were operating it. And I think they got it for I want to say like maybe $500,000 or somewhere in that ballpark. And in the middle of the summer with the drought, they weren't able to pump from the river anymore. The city stopped letting them pump from the river, and they lost the course. Year one. And so that's just all of the different stuff. And again, like if you're debating whether or not you want to, risk it all, maybe just sit down with Jarrett Yehlen and talk about some other, maybe some bonds or something a little bit safer.
Not a golf course.
But it's at the same time, if you want to do something you're really passionate about, it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, and if you have the funds available and you're not hurting for money, it's the greatest thing ever. And we do know, Brandon, I know plenty of people that make plenty of money, that, their place operates well, but it's just like owning your own business, like a restaurant. You've got to be there all the time. And if you really want to run a successful golf course, you look at some of the ones in the state that, for example, Brackett's Crossing is a great example, right? Like Brackett's Crossing does an incredible job with weddings. The Wilds does an unbelievable job with weddings. In those places that Rush Creek does an unreal job with weddings. There's so many places where it's that wedding business. Well, now you're open year round. Now you're working nights and weekends. Now you got to have liability insurance for, some weird, groomsmen in the wedding, jumping off the balcony or whatever. There's all sorts of different stuff that comes up that you don't have to think about when you're just operating a golf course. So there's a lot of cool opportunities to make more money when you do those other things, just like all the outside events and all that. But then once you start selling out Mondays for outside events to bring in more revenue, now you've got to have someone there to staff it instead of having your staff off on Mondays, and you have that whole back and forth conversation, right? Like there's all sorts of ways to make money, but there's always, it's never just like a real easy solution because you want to give the staff the day off, or you want to let the course breathe a little bit, or, you tell members that, hey, it's closed for the day, but we're going to have 144 people playing in the morning and 144 people playing in the afternoon. And they're like, well, wait, I thought this was my course. I pay for membership here. So it's really tricky, and Brandy and I have had way too many conversations on it, but it's fascinating. And there is a right price on every place, where you can definitely make money and get it right. But I think that's why you've seen so many places go to homes, because that's just where the easiest money is. It's like, especially like recently you see like at Sundance, they had some, family things were passed along in the family, etc. And they've now made it a 9-hole course and then sold the rest of the land around it for homes. And
So Brad, here's one that I don't think you and I have talked about, but the season goes by way too fast. I have a new student this year, and his name's Dave. I said, Dave, he's brand new to golf. Why do you want to get into golf, Dave? Well, I just inherited a 9-hole golf course from my in-laws. I'm like, okay, tell me a little bit more. And he says, yeah, it's we have it at our cabin in Siren, Wisconsin, and it's our golf course, so we just go play it for fun. I'm like, well, what's it called? Like, well, we just call it the course. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And I'm like, so who plays there? He goes, well, we do like every other weekend, and we have some friends up there. He legitimately inherited a 9-hole golf course just for himself to play golf, him and his wife. It's awesome. They have, like, the holes are crossing each other. They've got big cups on all 9 holes. They've got one employee that mows the grass, and it's legitimately his own 9-hole golf course.
If I owned something, I'd want to own something similar to like what some of the college teams have now for practice facilities, right? Like I would want something that. Like Iowa State's practice facility is insanely awesome. It's probably the length of 4 football fields. They've got tee boxes all the way around all of the sides with probably, I want to say like 7 or 8 greens sprinkled in this, this 100 yards by 400 yards area that you can mix your shots, you can mix the course, you can play kind of whatever you want to play to. It would be something like that, right? Where like you can kind of see everybody, maybe not a course, a 9-hole course out of my backyard, but maybe the 3 of us could go in and get a course, and maybe we could enter it onto the PGA Tour this year. Did you guys see the 2021-2022 schedule released? There's a couple new courses that are showing up on there. Um, St. Andrews is hosting the Open Championship. Any guess how many times this course has hosted the Open Championship? Any guesses?
Oof.
I'm gonna just start the opening bid at 25.
I was going to go 20.
30. This will be its 30th time hosting the Open Championship. Also new on the schedule is the Wells Fargo is actually at TPC Potomac because Quail Hollow is hosting the 2022 President's Cup. Then you get the U.S. Open at the Country Club in Brookline. I really like you guys where the 3M is falling on the schedule next year, Brandon. You guys have to be excited about that.
So pumped. 3M was an awesome event this year. Mixed in well for next year. Yeah, this is really cool. And
then,
our field keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and then finally the BMW is at Wilmington Country Club, which will be the first PGA Tour event in Delaware ever next year. So it'll be the 4th time that the BMW, which is still affiliated with the Western Golf Association, is east of the Mississippi.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which is awesome, and what the BMW Championship does for the Western Golf Association for the Evans Scholars is fantastic. I mean, what a great supporter of that caddy program.
Yeah, all the courses. I mean, think about the BMW guys. Like, listen to this list of courses that it's been played at over the years. Cog Hill, so the Dubsdread course, Bellarive, Conway Farms, Luke Donald's home course on the north side of Chicago, Cherry Hills in Colorado, Aromanic, Caves Valley, Medina.
Wow.
It's kind of a cool event. You know,
I think so.
No, I love that they've basically worked their way around all of Chicago. Maybe someday they'll get to Rich Harvest Farms or Bobolink or one of the, little bit more obscure or tougher to get into Chicago clubs. But it's cool that they've done a nice job of kind of getting around the Midwest and again a little bit east as well too. Before we get off the air, we do need to talk about our local businesses this week that we supported. So I'm going to start it off. This week I was up at Minnewaska Golf Club, and Minnewaska is an awesome course in Glenwood, not even 2 hours from the cities. They do carry the Von Hansen's tangy mustard pretzels, and also the cinnamon ones as well. And you better believe that our group had we had about a 2 hour thunderstorm delay. And they had to do some tree pickup and all that from the storms, and they did a phenomenal job of maintenance there. But we had both a tangy mustard and the cinnamon. So Von Hansen's pretzels, you got to check them out. Minnewaska Golf Club, awesome little track. And one more local one that we've been eating a lot lately, Enjoy China in Champlin. Right off 169 there. Some really fresh Chinese food, some great people, Ken and Kim, and a nice little spot there right in Champlin. Enjoy China. How about you, Brandy?
Well, I'm not going to go the route of the McDonald's that I had today in Brooklyn Park, although it was fantastic. I'm going to go Andover Lanes. We went bowling yesterday, and we had a blast. Thank God my wife couldn't play. She's a little injured, but she couldn't play because her claim to fame is that she's really good at bowling, and she really is, and I will never beat her. But I had fun kicking the crap out of my 2 kids who are 6 and 10, and it was fun. But Andover Lanes, we had a blast there yesterday, so check it out.
Man, family bowling time. Gosh, how fun is that? We haven't done that in years. That used to be our go-to thing to do, like on a rainy day in the summertime or whatever it is. Like, let's go bowling. Kids would love it. We haven't been in a while.
Yeah, except we did it when it was like
didn't
80.
rain this summer.
That's
we did it when it was
true.
80 and sunny yesterday.
Yeah, touche. I'm going to go a different route with this. So the local business that I am going to support this week is Brandy. Have you guys ever wanted to own a professional sports team?
Yes.
I mean, it seems like a cool idea.
Okay, so the Minnesota semi-pro women's soccer team is selling community ownership shares. So There are a couple of different levels of U.S. soccer. Major League Soccer is obviously the top, then the United States League, the United Soccer League, I'm sorry, underneath from a men's perspective. From a women's perspective, it goes National Women's Soccer League is kind of the top, but then the USLW is the next league under that. Guys, there are 20 teams. The league is starting next year. We have a team starting here in Minnesota that is still to be named with a public ownership group here in the Twin Cities of 9 different people, some business owners, some old corporate execs. But beginning tomorrow at 8 a.m., they are selling community ownership shares. Starts at $100. If you ever wanted to own a team that is not the Green Bay Packers, then jump on in.
I knew you were going there. That's
it had to go there at some point,
I mean,
right?
the guy knows me too well. He's like, "Oh, Taco John's, I knew it. Oh, you're gonna take a dig at the Packers. Up, I knew it."
Yep, and then you're gonna make a comment about cheese and fireworks. I know. That's awesome. I didn't know that was something on the table. Very, very cool. And again, like if you want to be a part of the community, help them out, right? I like that.
Yeah.
If you guys happen to be watching this on YouTube, watch the eyebrows of Brad and I when Jarrett says, "Do you want to own a sports organization?"
Well,
they immediately lifted up.
the investment levels start at $100 for 4 shares, right? And you get input from everything to hiring the head coach, to season tickets, to branding the team. It has yet to be named. I think something cool to jump on board with. I mean, whether it's I love soccer or not, it is most certainly supporting the community. More importantly, supporting women's sports here in the Twin Cities. So jump on in if you find yourself so inclined.
Maybe they need a podcast to help support them.
Yeah, exactly. A little different than your last question, which was, have you ever thought about owning a golf course? So a little different direction there. Hopefully, if you own the women's soccer team, you don't have to be operating the roller dog machine at 9 a.m. Or actually, the worst part is 6 p.m. when they're still on there, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with them. Oh man, the joys of owning and operating a golf course are endless. So that's good stuff, Jarrett. You definitely went a different direction there, and I like it. That's you're broadening our horizons, and you're entertaining the listeners. So that's what we've got you for.
Cheers.
Good stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, it's great to be back on the air, and we love Jarrett coming in and spending time with us. And we'd like to thank all of our sponsors. So Jarrett Yehlen with Northwestern Mutual, PXG, the Meadows at Mystic Lake, and Corona Premier. You can connect with us always via email at 10kswings@scorenorth.com. Please subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Score North, and give us a 5-star rating. For next week, we will have Phil Mackey back on the show to break down the Tour Championship from East Lake and talk about the Ryder Cup. Until next week, friends, I'm Brad Cole.
I'm David Branstad.
Cheers.